This is Introduction to SQL Server 2012 Integration Services. I'm Reza Rat, SQL Server MVP, author and trainer, and this is one of the series of SQL Server 2012 Integration Services training set. In database words, you might need some kind of tools. For example, a tool for example, comparing two database. Another tool, for example, for developing your tables, creating some kind of diagrams. Another tool for managing, for example, creating backups and restore. For some kind of requirements, you might need a tool for data transfer. For example, a company might have some kind of spreadsheet files and employee information or customer information coming through some kind of spreadsheet files, and you want to transfer this information into a database, an operational database. This kind of data transfer actually will be called as ETL, which is extract, transform, and load in the BI word. I'm talking about ETL in the next slide. You might need this data transfer tool for data migration as well. For example, a company might have a legacy system on DB2, for example, for their CRM, and want to migrate this information into new system, new CRM system with SQL Server or with Oracle or with any other databases. You might need data transfer for some kind of one-off load. For example, you might have some incoming data, incoming budget information from a specific department, and you want to load them for the first time into the operational database and then use it. So we need a tool for this kind of information. Let's talk about ETL more. In business intelligence and data warehousing world, we need to get some information from different systems. For example, a company might have a CRM system, payroll system, product spreadsheet, any other source system, and as a ETL developer, as someone who actually developed the structure of extracting this information and loading them into the data warehouse, you might need to apply some kind of transformation. For example, you might need to do some kind of data conversion, some kind of calculated members, do aggregations, pivot and unpivot, and any other transformation you may need. In this course, I'm not talking about the structure of data warehouse and how to design your data warehouse. If you want to learn more about data warehouse and how to design that, you need to read actually data dimensional modeling, which I think is presented in another course, and you can learn more about dimensional modeling there. Just in this course we are using some terminology for data warehousing, but I will talk about each terminology that I use at the time of using. But this is not a course about data warehouse. This is just a course about SSIS. Integration, actual SQL Server integration services. Okay, in this process, when we extract this information from source, we call this part as extract. We apply some changes on data, we call this part as transform, and when we load this information into the data warehouse, we call this part as load. So extract, transform, load, or in abbreviation mode, ETL is one of the most important part of BI system, and if you are working in a BI department or as a BI consultant or as a BI developer, you might need an ETL tool who helps you to do this kind of stuff much easily and much reliable. Now, what is SSIS SSIS stands for SQL Server Integration Services. SSIS is a data transfer tool, and it's a ETL. It's an ETL tool, so you can transfer information from one or more sources into one or more destinations and apply some kind of transformation. SSIS is one of the services of SQL Server. So when you install SQL Server, you will be able to pick SSIS in installation features, but you should be aware that this SSIS is available from SQL Server 2005 because it's first introduced in SQL Server 2005. If you are using SQL Server versions like 2000 or earlier version, you need to actually use DTS, which was Data Transformation Services. DTS was legacy service, which actually replaced by SSIS, which is very powerful replacement because SSIS have much more features and have a very good performance rather than legacy DTS. In this course, we just cover SSIS 2012. There are some specific part in SSIS 2008 or 2005, but this course is just talk about SSIS 2012. So before continuing this course, we need to know which edition of SQL Server you need to use your SSIS for data transformation tools. If you use SSIS for example, very simple data transfer, for example, getting an spreadsheet of information and load them all into a SQL Server table, then you might just need an import and export wizard, which is very basic version of SSIS. And it supports some kind of basic data adapters, for example, SQL Server data adapter, Jet Engine data adapter, any other data adapter, which are kind of basic data adapter. Fortunately, these are available in Web or Express edition of SQL Server. So if you install Express edition, which is free edition, you have ability to use import and export wizard with some basic data adapters. But if you want to use SSIS Designer and do some kind of transform, for example, do some kind of calculations, aggregations, looping through records, applying some stuff, executing a stored procedure per each record and get result and then load them into destination, then you can use standard or BI editions of SQL Server. But unfortunately, these editions does not support some kind of advanced transform. For example, if you want to do some kind of fuzzy lookup, for example, look for a specific term in and do some kind of term lookup and this kind of data cleansing stuff, then you might need, probably need enterprise editions of SQL Server 2012. For this course, we are explaining all features of SSIS, so it's good for you to have enterprise edition of SQL Server, but you can use developer edition of SQL Server as well, because developer edition have all features of enterprise editions, and you can test all of your course training stuff with developer edition as well. So how to install SSIS? When you install SQL Server, when you use SQL Server 2012 setup media, in the feature selection, you need to check integration services, which is the core service of SSIS, SQL Server data tools, which is our development environment. We will talk about this tool in the next videos, of course, and management tools, which is SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, which helps us in backing up, restoring, in setting permission stuff, and any other deployment, any other management stuff about SSIS. For this course, you need to install some databases, AdventureWorks 2012 and AdventureWorks Data Warehouse 2012. You can find these databases in msftdbprod.samples.codeplex.com, and there you can find how to install these databases on your system. Now I'm talking about Import and Export Wizard. Import and Export Wizard is a very simple version of SSIS. You can create structures for transferring data in very simple format. For example, if you have a spreadsheet of information, you can load them directly into SQL Server databases or in Access databases, or for example, if you want to export some kind of information from your tables from joining of different tables into CSV file or comma separated value file, you can do it simply with Import and Export Wizard. Fortunately, this supports some kind of built-in data adapters, for example, Jet Engine data adapter, which is for Access, Excel, and SQL Server data adapter. It supports Oracle data adapter and some kind of basic data adapters. Unfortunately, this doesn't support any transformation. For example, if you want to do data transformation like creating some kind of calculated columns, for example, if you want to do some data conversion, if you want to apply pivot, unpivot, any other kind of this transformation, you cannot do that. You can create logic of this kind of transformation in your SQL queries, but not in Import and Export Wizard. You have ability to save all of this structure into a file which we call this as a package. SSIS package contains all information that contains source information, destination information, mapping structure between different fields. And when you save all of your works in Import and Export Wizard, then you can go back and, for example, next week, next month, run this package again and do that data transformation again. Fortunately, this Import and Export Wizard available in all editions of SQL Server, even in SQL Express. So if you install SQL Server Express, which is free edition of SQL Server 2012, you can simply use Import and Export Wizard. Now let me show a sample of using Import and Export Wizard in SQL Express. Assume that we have a spreadsheet of employees with very simple information of employee, first name, last name, and birthday. And we have 3 employees here, and we want to load this information into SQL Server table. In SQL Server database engine, I created a database named radacat-ssis-sample-db. I used this in some of my samples. And under this, I've created a table named employee. And this table has an ID, which is of type integer, and identity, and primary key. And I have a first name, which is varchar 50 character, and last name varchar 50 character, and birthday, which is data type. So we want to load those information into the employee, and employee table is already empty, as you see. So I can run Import and Export Wizard in different ways. One of ways is right click and under tasks select import data or export data. For this part we are using import data. Or another way is to go to run and type DTS Wizard. This will open SQL Server Import and Export Wizard. As you see, this is a welcome page which explains what is the Import and Export Wizard. And I select Excel as a source. As you can see, we have different versions of Excel here, and I browse the Excel file here, and I say that first row has column names as well. When I select the file, Excel version will be changed to Microsoft Excel 2007. Now I go to the next step. In the next step, I should select the destination. Destination is where actually I want to load my information. I want to load those information into SQL Server. As you see, there are different providers which are actually basic providers. As you can see, we have provider for Oracle, for analysis services, for Jet Engine, for flat file. For this case, we are using native client 11, and server name I use that here, which actually means I want to use the local instance of SQL Server. And we can use authentication mode, Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. I use Windows authentication, and the database I choose Radeket-SSIS-SampleDB. Then in the next step, I can specify a table or view or a query. If I choose this part, if I say that I want to write a query to specify the data to transfer, in the next step I should write the query or browse query file, SQL file from system. For this case, I use copy data from one or more tables or views. And in the next step, you can see that all sheets of Excel file will be shown. And if I choose, for example, sheet first, this will create a name and destination for sheet 1, but I do not want to load this information into a table named sheet $1. I have an employee table and I want to load information into that table. So I select employee table. I can check the mapping information between the columns in Excel file and columns in employee table with clicking on edit mappings button. When I click on edit mappings, I can see that there are some kind of options here, and this is the mapping part. So for the first name, the source column is first name. I choose destination, which is first name. Last name, I choose destination, which is last name. For birthday, I choose destination, which is birth date. We have some kind of options here. For example, delete rows in destination table. For this case, we do not have any rows already in destination table, but the default option is append rows to destination tables. This means that the existing table rows will be unchanged, and we are adding this information. If we are inserting some information into an identity field, we should check enable identity insert, but for this case we do not insert identity field, and identity will be created automatically. Okay, so I hit OK, and here when you select preview, you can see a preview of information. Now I click next. This will show a review of this kind of information, and what happens, for example, to each field, and if error happens, what will happen, if truncation happens, what will happen. So in the next step, I can run the package. This is the step that I can save or run the package. So after reviewing the data type mappings, we can go here and say that we want to run this package immediately, or we want to save this package and run this as well, or just we want to save this package. So in this sample, I run immediately and save package also. For saving package, there are some kind of information required, but this will be complicated if I explain what are these options for deployment, because these are options for deployment SSIS package. For this sample, I just choose file system, which is a storage. I want to store my SSIS package, and I leave the protection level. Protection level is for some kind of sensitive information that I have in the package, and I do not change this protection level for now, so I just choose file system. And in the next step, I choose the package name. I set this, for example, transfer employee spreadsheet to DB. Okay, I choose this name for my package, and as you can see, this will be stored somewhere. I change this location to my project folder. Okay, and you can also write some kind of description here. This package will transfer employee information from Excel spreadsheet. We name the package as transfer employee spreadsheet to DB, and we change the location of package as we want, and then we set a description for package. So this package will be stored in this location after this. Now in next step, this is a description about what this package are doing. This will be stored in this location. This will use source provider, and destination is SQL Server Engine. Source provider is Excel source, and copies rows from sheet employee to sheet to table employee, and some other information about the package. When I click finish, the package will be, the SSIS package import export will be run, and records will be imported into the table. As you can see, the result of execution can be seen here, and you can see that there are some different steps. One of these steps is copying records. That here you can see that 3 records transferred. Now we close this ImportExport Wizard, and when I right click on employee and select top 1000 rows, you can see that the rows will be imported here as it was in our Excel spreadsheet. So this is a sample of import and export wizard, and as I said before, you can do this for simple data transfer, and this support basic data adapters. You cannot do transformation in this way. You have ability to save package. I will show you how to open a package and change the package and run the package again. And this is available in SQL Server Express. For the next part, I'm talking about SSDT. Let's talk about SSDT. SSDT stands for SQL Server Data Tools, and this is tools for development SQL Server integration services packages. When you install SSIS and you choose SQL Server Data Tools at the feature selection, you will have in the start menu, you will have SQL Server Data Tools. When you click on SQL Server Data Tools, you will see that Visual Studio 2010 will be open. And in this Visual Studio, you can create new project. In the new project part, you can see that there's a business intelligence template, And if you have also installed other part of Visual Studio, you might see Visual C projects, Visual Basic project, ASP.NET projects, but for this course we just focus on Business Intelligence project, and under Business Intelligence there's an Integration Service project that we have two different options. For this course we are using Integration Service project, and I set the location of project. I name this as introduction, and I say that create a solution for this directory. Create a directory for this solution. As you can see, there are some windows in SSDT. If you never used SSDT before, SSDT is our development environment. There are some different windows here that helps us. The first window is Solution Explorer. In the Solution Explorer we have our packages information or project. The project is introduction. The name of project is introduction. And in each project we might have project parameters or connection managers, which are shared parameters and connection managers between different packages. We have a folder named SSIS packages. Under the SSIS packages folder we might have one or more packages, and we have a MISC folder which might include some document files or any other files. In the right side, that was in the right side. In lower right side you will see a Getting Start window. This contains some samples. For example, my first SSIS solution, Control Flow Basic, Data Flow Basics. So these are some kind of tutorials for creating SSIS package and transformation, tasks and other stuff. We have a Properties window. For example, when we are in the main window, this will show the properties of that object. When we are in each object, this will show the properties of that object. We have a SSIS toolbox window here. This toolbox contains all tasks that we can use, drag and drop and use in our package. This toolbox will be different in sometimes, but these are some categorized toolbox. We can move tasks between different part. For example, move to favorite, move to other tasks, or refresh toolbox to refresh it in the first factory mode, reset factory mode. And when we select a task, these are tasks. For example, FTP task do FTP stuff, and file system task do, for example, copy or move or delete file and directories. When you select each of these tasks, there will be a description pane here that shows that this task do some other stuff, and you can click on find samples to find some online samples here. And the main window here is the design window. Actually, we have a window per each package here. For example, in this package window, when you create a new SSIS project, there will be a package.dtsx files. All SSIS files, SSIS data transfer files will be stored as DTSX extension. So this is a package. This package contains 5 tabs. The first tab is Control Flow. In Control Flow we have we can add different tasks. For example, we can put a script task and write some .NET scripts. We can put, for example, execute SQL task and run a stored procedure from a database. We have a data flow task. we have a data flow tab. In the data flow, as you can see in the data flow, we have different toolbox. So the toolbox is different in control flow and in data flow. In data flow, we can create source and destinations and some kind of transformation. What actually I said about ETL, we can do lots of our ETL stuff here. We have parameters tab. We might have parameters for each package. We can create parameters, set type of parameters, set default value. We have event handlers in each package and each object. For example, in package, we might have different event handlers. We will cover all of these event handlers in appropriate video in this course. And we have a package explorer. This package explorer provide a tree of objects that we have in this package: list of variables, this package, list of executables in this package, and other stuff. Okay, so for the first sample of this package, I will first open the saved package from previous step. So I right click on SSIS packages and add existing package. I choose file system as source, as package location, and I choose package path, which we stored or transfer employee spreadsheet to db.dtsx file, and I select that one and hit OK. When I double click on this package, you will see that this package contains a data flow task named data flow task 1. When I double click on this task, you can see that there is a source, an Excel source. This Excel source use a Excel connection manager, and this Excel connection manager is actually getting information from the Excel file, as we said in import and export wizard. And from this Excel source, we are getting information from sheet 1, and we have 3 columns. Then there is a data conversion transformation, which actually converted the data, for example, from string to any other type that we have in our destination table. And in destination, we have a OLEDB destination, which use a OLEDB destination connection. That connection is pointing to our local server, to our sample DB, and we choose we can see that the employee table selected here, and the mapping, which actually shows that the converted data mapped to our destination columns. So this is actually what happened when we created the data transfer part with import and export wizard. So now we are creating same package from SQL Server data tools. First of all, I need to create a data flow. So I drag and drop a data flow task here. Then I double click on this. In this sample, let me talk about that. In this sample, actually we are creating a simple package, and just with few tasks and simple transformation. We will cover all of these tasks and transformation and all of options in the future videos of this course. So if you want to know more about this information, this stuff, you need to continue the course to get into the control flow tasks and data flow tasks, data flow transformation, and other stuff. Okay, so here I use source assistant, drag and drop source assistant. I choose Excel as source, and I say that I want to create a new connection. I choose Excel file here, and the first row has column names, so I leave it as is. And now, as you can see, the Excel source created. I double click on Excel source and I select name of Excel sheet, which is sheet 1. I click on preview and you can see that data actually showed here. I go to columns and we have columns here, and as you can see, we can actually see the each column and data type of each column, which is, for example, for this one is DT underscore WSTR, and for birthday the DT underscore date. Okay, so I click on OK, and now I want to load this information into a destination. As our destination have columns which are varchar, and our source actually have data columns which are WSTR, and WSTR means in varchar. So we need to apply some data conversion. So I drag and drop data conversion column here. And I click on Excel source. There is a blue arrow here. I drag and drop that arrow here. This means that data comes from Excel source to data conversion. We call this as data path. There is another arrow which is red, which is actually error output records, which I will talk about this in future videos. So I double click on data conversion and I select first name and last name. I change data type of first name to DTSTR, which is actually the data type of varchar, and last name to DTSTR again. I change the name of each column. For example, first name str and last name str. Now we can put a destination and load information into this destination. But right before that, I make a bit changes in this design. I create a column here named age of data type int. I want to calculate age of each employee right before inserting data into this table. I mean, actually we want to have a calculated member here to calculate age and put the age besides other information from Excel spreadsheet. So as we have already some data rows here, I truncate information of this table, truncate table employee. Sorry, wrong database. Okay, truncate table employee. Okay, now you can see that this table has no records already. Now I come back here and use a derived column after data conversion and connect data path from data conversion to the derived column. In the derived column, I select a columns from left pane. Here we have columns and variables and parameters. For example, I choose a birthday. We want actually to get difference between current date and the birthday in terms of years. So I use a datetime function, and I use dateDiff function, drag and drop in the expression part. These functions here are expressions that we can use in SSIS. These expressions and functions are different than TSQL functions. So we have also a dateDiff function in TSQL, but these are completely different. In some cases they are similar, but they are mostly different. So I say that we want to find the year difference between start date, which is actually birthday, and end date, which is actually get date. Get date will return today's date. Okay, and I named this column as age. As you can see, the result of this expression will be type integer for signed byte integer. I will talk about these expressions in future videos more. Okay, I hit OK, and after that I put a destination assistant. I select SQL Server and double click on new. I choose local default instance and or sample DB, test connections, it's OK, and then I connect data path from derived column to the OLEDB destination. Then I double click on OLEDB destination and I say that we want to load information into employee table. Then I go to mapping tab. As you can see, those columns that have exactly similar name are already connected together. So age already connected. I connect last name and first name from source. These are source column, input columns, and these are destination column. I also connect birthday. So as you can see, first name, last name, we can also select from this grid here. So first name and last name, birth date, and age are connected. We do not choose anything for ID because ID is auto-generated and we just leave it as ignore. Okay, I select OK for that. Don't worry about this warning. This is a warning for truncation. We will talk about this truncation stuff in future videos. For now, I'm running this package. I click on this start debugging button or F5. Okay, we've got an error here. For troubleshooting that error is related to jet engine. So this is a problem in jet engine 64-bit. So for now, I'm not talking about this kind of stuff in 62-bit or 64-bit or 32-bit. For now, I just right click on the project in properties. Under configuration properties, under debugging, I'm going to change run 64-bit runtime to false. Hit OK and then run package. I will talk about this kind of problems with Excel source and destination in future videos. So when I run the package, as you can see, these green arrows show these green icons besides each task shows that this task finished successfully. If we get red icons here, this shows, for example, an error happened, and here this shows that 3 rows transferred from Excel source to data conversion, 3 rows from data conversion to derived column, and 3 rows from derived column to OLEDB destination. And when we go back to our table and select information. As you can see, we have information of each employee, first name, last name, birthday, and age. So this was an example of creating a simple package in SSDT, in our development environment SSDT. As you can see, our connection managers are also here. I will talk about connection managers in future videos as well. We get information and data rows from Excel source. We changed data type, and we calculate age based on birthday and current date, the difference between year in terms of year, and then we load information into a destination. So this was our first video of SQL Server 2012 Integration Services series. In the next videos, we will talk about control flow and what actually we can do in each control flow tasks. Thanks.